Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. We are on episode 6 of Stars Align, and so we finally got to this matchup between the current champions of soft tennis in middle school and our ragtag group here led by Toma and Maki. And last episode, oh buddy, it was a bit of an emotional tug to say the least. So yeah, that episode was pretty great though, in terms of Toma being a stable support for both Maki and Rentaro, us getting some more insight into Rentaro's position as an adopted child into the family, and then of course that whole confrontation with Maki's father was just so yeah, I have a feeling there's gonna be more moments like that throughout the series. We're at the halfway point, so this marks halfway through the season, which is crazy. It feels like this season there's been stuff happening and it's been very character development, but it doesn't feel like we're halfway through, right? It just feels like we're getting started. And that really makes me sad when you think about the fact that this series was cut so short, the fact that the creator intended it being 24 episodes, because you can get that feel, right? You have the feeling that this is a 24 episode season, that we're just getting into the beginnings of understanding these characters, we're just getting into realizing what their issues are with their families, and it sets itself up like, okay, this entire season we're going to be developing these relationships and getting to know these characters more while we have the background framing of soft tennis. And it's such a shame that we don't get any more of that than 12 episodes, that this is the halfway point, because it really feels like a fourth of the way through. And so when several of you were saying that the series kind of cuts short and ends on a cliffhanger, I believe it, because it's already feeling like that. I get that impression like, oh, I'm getting number 6 vibes already, and we're only halfway through. I'm like, oh, what are we going to do? So that does leave me pretty trepidatious going into the rest of the season, but I'm keeping an open mind, because knowing that this season ends at such an awkward point, I think is helpful going in blind, because I don't get my expectations too high, like, oh, we're going to resolve everything. No, I've resigned myself to understanding that there's probably going to be some plot points that won't get resolved. It's just a matter of which plot points don't get resolved. So that's what I'm curious about. And by the end of the series, we'll know. So with that being said, I am excited to see this redhead kid. He just looks like either a bully or just a snot-nosed brat, or both. And so I'm curious to know how this goes down with him. I feel bad for our boys because they're going up against a huge team that is a national qualifying, national winning team. But the art sponsor is like, oh, this is our chance to practice, so with a legit team. So why not start at the top? You know, if you at least feel comfortable facing them, then maybe you won't feel so bad when you face the other teams that suck nearly not as much as them. So either way, I'm really excited to get into this episode. I hope y'all are too. But let's do this. Let's get in halfway through the season. Let's get into episode 6 of Stars Align. And we are going to start this episode here in 5, 4, and 3, 2, 1. Let's go. That's really super cute with them doing the thing and the static and everything. Cool. That was so cute. Oh my gosh. What an adorable episode. Oh my gosh. Well, that's gone a lot better than I thought it would. I'm really curious if of all the pairs that they have, I wonder if the only pair that's not going to win a game is going to be Toma and Maki, which would be kind of ironic, but also really funny. And it would kind of make sense because they're up, it's like the aces versus the aces, right? And Misaki's aces are just a little bit better than our boys and their school. But there was so much that was good about this episode that I really, really, really liked. Going back through, it was mostly just the matches themselves, which I have to say, I talked about in the reaction, the animation for this show is super fluid, like really fluid, like animation, and mixing it subtly with 3D. Like, I think the net has to have some 3D elements into it, because the way that the net ripples when the ball hits it is really beautiful. But I said this in the reaction, there's a lot of shows and sports anime that I've watched that the movements all kind of seem generic and samey because why animate them different? But with this show, they do animate them different. Like everybody has a different flow, a different style. Arashi, the boy that is the ace for Misaki, his movements are so much quicker and more nimble, and you can instantly tell a difference of him versus the other teammates. Like he's clearly a league above them in terms of how he moves. And I think that's really interesting. And I like that the show takes its time to fluidly show those movements and make them unique. That's something that's really cool about this series that I really, really appreciate. And it makes it stand out for me too. But going through the episode, let me go backtrack to it because I just clicked out of it. But going back through the episode, there's just I love that each team so far has won a match. Like going into this whole practice match, it was obvious that our ragtag group of boys were not gonna win against Misaki. Like they're the championship team. I mean, there's 60 guys. Their whole first year, all their job is to cheer on their fellow teammates. That's crazy to me. But what I love about this is that our boys have shown that they can do well, that they can win a set against the championship team. And that's such an esteem boost, I think, that whenever this game is over, that's going to be such a boost of esteem for them, being like, hey, we came into this being like a losing team and we each won a game against the champion team in soft tennis for our region. So that's pretty impressive. And what I like is that each group, each pair so far has kind of found what their sync is. Like with Now and his partner, their whole thing is like they stick to the back, and that kind of surprises their opponents, and they take things in stride. They're very easygoing. With Rintaro and Itsuki, I love that Maki acknowledges that Rintaro is a game strategist, because that's such a good callback. Because last episode, Rintaro was so down on himself because he'd been working so hard to take these notes, and it wasn't getting recognized. Home was like, oh, Maki's already got a plan. And Rintaro was like, okay, but I've been trying with this plan too. So I like that Maki acknowledges him in this episode. Be like, yeah, Rintaro's a really good game strategist. Like, he knows what he's doing, you know? Rintaro reminds me a lot of Sugawara, like in Haikyuu, where Sugawara wasn't the main setter, but he had a lot of game insight and a lot of experience, and so he could bring that to the game and to his teammates and help them out that way. And Rintaro reminds me a lot of Sugawara in that sense. Like, I really like his character. And then you have Shingo and Tsubasa, and those boys, those Chads, they're just the most dramatic, over the top. I absolutely love them. I love them giving their moves special names and then shouting, and the way the camera zoomed and like made it seem so dramatic, and then you'd see the other team be like, what the heck? Like, that was absolutely wonderful. I loved that so much. And they did their little victory dance, and you could tell that Tsubasa was kind of influenced, or Shingo was influenced by his sister in the previous episode, and they are like a bunch of grasshoppers just jumping around. I like that the coach, Misaki's sponsor and coach, is like, so how you getting these boys all trained up? They're better than you let on. He's like, I have had nothing to do with this. He's like, oh, keep your secrets. And the funny thing is, the art sponsor's like, I have no secrets. Like, I'm literally not helping them. This is all self-taught. So I really like that the other coach thinks he's being humble, but in reality, he's like, no, I really have had no influence on them whatsoever. But I have to say throughout this, Arashi getting the neck massage the whole time is ridiculous. But throughout this whole episode, probably my favorite part has been how much Mitsue has gotten into the game. Like, this is the most positive we have seen her. And she was actually like actively rooting for them and was sad when they lost. And when they started to question Maki and Toma, she's like, are you saying they can't win? And it's like her having this positive reaction to this and not being such a negative Nancy, like her actually reacting to something in a positive way was so refreshing this episode. And Yuta just standing there beside her, like, it was so cute, them explaining the scoring and Yuta being like, here's how soft tennis works. And like, he's such a good friend. I love Yuta. He's so sweet in this. He's like such a sweetheart. But Mitsue gaining some like positivity and Nakama feelings in this. That was so refreshing. I've been waiting for this. I commented the last couple episodes that she seems like she's following them around. Like, she's trying to kind of infiltrate the team and kind of work her way in. And this episode, she was there for support, and it was so cool. Like, I absolutely love that. But yeah, Arashi, our lead here, I just like that he's giving the commentary from his team's sake. And yeah, it just like any other team that we a champion team, they instantly realize what they've done wrong. And after they get surprised by our boys, then they go back and they're like, they course correct. And then they're like, okay, now we've figured out what they were doing, and they end up winning the game. So far, Toma and Maki have not won a game, and we know that these guys have at least won one. Misaki's team has at least won one, so I'm very curious. And Arashi seems like the type of person that he likes a challenge. He's very Sendo-like, or Kawa-like. He wants a challenge and to rise up to that challenge. So he's viewing this as a way of challenging himself, and so he's all excited about it. But I at least think that by the end of this, I love that bravery, lively, victory that Now and them have. I think at least by the end of this match that our boys will at least have, I don't think their confidence will be crushed. I don't think their spirits will be crushed, because they can walk away from this thinking, oh, okay, well, we can win a future match because we all won a game against the championship team. So we can face these other teams that aren't nearly as strong. And also each time the match would end, the pair from our boys' school would note what they needed to do to improve. They'd be like, oh, okay, we need to practice. Oh, okay, we need to change this up. Okay, we need to do this. So they're going to learn, like Yuta said, Yuta's whole thing of being like, learn from your losses. Like, it's okay to lose. You'll learn from it. And I absolutely love that. I love that Yuta's this calm voice of reason throughout everything and helping to influence Mitsue. It's just, it's so good. I'm curious to know what in the world Maki has planned. Like, I don't know exactly what Maki has plans, unless he's like, let's move to the back or switch sides or reverse our positions. Like, I'm not sure what Maki has. I'm watching Ace of the Diamond at the same time. And so when they did the slide ball, it reminded me of like a curve ball in baseball. Like when they did the slider and it just the ball changing momentum and changing direction. Like, that was really interesting as well. But this episode was so wholesome and sweet. After last episode, which was a gut punch to your emotions, we needed a relaxing episode. We needed a calming episode to be like, okay, everything's fine now. We needed that. And so I was really happy that that's what we got with this episode. That was very welcome. So yeah, that's the only thing about this episode is it was so focused on the matches. There's not a crazy ton of information that I can really talk about because it was mainly just the back and forth matches. I like the way that they formatted everything, that you kind of follow it pretty easy. But again, and the way that it's animated, the ball feels like it has weight. Like each serve, each hit, you can almost like feel that tension. You can feel the racket hitting it. And that's really, really cool. I like that a lot. So yeah, this was a really good episode. I don't have a whole lot to say about it because we didn't get much. It wasn't much in terms of character development necessarily, but it was team development. Like, I think Mitsue had the most character development in this episode. Like, girl, I'm so on board with her acting in a positive way and being friendly with the team. Like, her and Yuta being there. And I felt like Yuta giving Shingo and Tsubasa the water bottles. It was kind of like a Space Jam thing. Like, not Space Jam 2, the original Space Jam, where he gives them, like, the secret stuff in the water bottles and they drink it and they feel like all superpowered. Like, it reminded me of that. That was really cool. But yeah, this is mainly just like a team bonding, team building episode, and it kind of embodies the whole reason they went there, to figure out what their weaknesses are, to play against a strong team, and to see what they can improve upon before an actual match against another team that may not be as strong as Misaki, but will still present a challenge. Like, that's really, really cool. I like that a lot. And I like that most of Yuta's notes were, they're really good. Just so you know. I don't have much to say. It's like, but yeah. I'm curious to know what you all thought of this episode. I thought it was sweet. I thought this was adorable. Their little dance, everything. I'm so curious. I was wondering by the end of this if they were going to cut off. I didn't even know if we'd get to Toma and Maki. I'm like, are they going to save Toma and Maki for the next episode entirely? But they don't. They let us get a hint of the struggle that they're facing with Arashi and his partner. And so of course, we're going to have next episode when the match probably concludes. So I'm curious to know your thoughts down below of what you thought of the reaction and of the episode. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, what a cliffhanger, huh? So in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll be back next week with episode 7 of Stars Align. Bye.